Oh, hello, Chihua. How are you? You get your own camera this time.
No, I am on my own today.
Right.
Hello, Frank. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Very well. You're looking beautiful as always.
Thank you. You're looking very lively. You ready for that?
Yeah, I just came back from a family lunch for my son's first communion.
Wow.
8 year old. We did a first communion celebration at church today. So that was fun. And he get to read words of appreciation in church. So the teacher say who want to, go up and talk, and he raised his hand. So I guess it's part of we may have planted the seed of appreciation, gratitude, so that my son is he volunteered to say the words of appreciation. So he read. So he said basically he get the chance to read the appreciation to other people. So that was fun. I
Awesome.
enjoyed listening to that. Okay. We have a new friend. My friend Vince is on the camera. I guess we'll just get started. Some people may be trailing in, in and out. But we can just get started with the introduction of what we're sharing today real quick. Let me just set up my computer, my second screen here. All righty. So for the returning participant, you already know what this is about. But since Vince is new to us, I'm going to take a little bit of few time just introducing what we're doing here. First of all, I want to express my gratitude to all of you for taking the time of your day to join this Zoom. Um, what I'm doing here is sharing a set of knowledge that I have had the fortune of learning in the past couple of years, offered by an organization in Vietnam called WIT. WI stand for wisdom, and the T stand for three, wisdom level three. Okay, if you stick to the program, you understand what it means to have wisdom level three. It is a level of wisdom where we can experience true inner peace. Okay, and that is one of the goal for us doing this kind of sharing. We want to help each other experience a sense of inner peace so that we can, create a kind of life that is happy and healthy for ourselves and for our family. Okay. Um, in my own personal experience, before studying this philosophy, I've experienced a lot of depression. I had problem with my physical health. I had problem with my relationship with my family members, with my son, my wife even, and my parents, and not to include my coworker. But as I study this holistic philosophy that I'm about to share with you, I find that I have changed. Okay, it is not that other people changed, but I have changed. I've become more at peace with myself and with other people. I become more generous and tolerant of other people, and I have become more grateful of everything and everyone. And as a result, my relationship with them changed. And as a result, my own health and happiness has improved. Okay. So um, to start, I recommend that in order to get the best out of this sharing, that you take some time to also take note if you can. Okay. Grab a notebook, a lot of papers. I will be doodling, and you are welcome to doodle along with me. Okay. Take any note that you want. Um, it's going to transform your life. It is a promise, actually. Okay, it is a promise. Traditionally, this knowledge is taught over a 21-day period. Each day, 2 or 3 hours, and you just repeat every day for continuously 21 days. And scientifically speaking, if you try to develop a new habit, it takes 21 days for the habit to stick. Okay. But considering my own life situation, I've only been able to share this material once a week. But today we get a special deal where I'm going to be speaking for almost 24 hours. Okay, we'll go for as long as we can. And for those of you who have not experienced it, you will wonder, oh, how is it possible? Do you have the energy to sit and talk for 24 hours? Well, we are going to prove to you that when you can access the energy of serenity, which is inner peace, when your mind, your body, your spirit is connected and you are whole, then you will discover that there is almost a limitless energy within your body, okay, within your mind that you can draw upon, and you can, pretty much go on forever, okay. We'll have some break time in between for a water break, for restroom break, and maybe nap break. By midnight, we'll give ourselves a long break, a 4 hour sleep time, and then 4 a.m. we'll wake up and we'll go again until 6 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, that'll give us pretty much a 24-hour period. Okay, not counting the small break. You're welcome to get up and and use the restroom or whatever whenever you have time. I also encourage you to turn on your camera. Thank you for sharing your camera, chị Hoa and Ron and Vince. And when it is convenient, and I recommend that you also turn on your microphone and just interact. Okay, it is through the interaction that you will learn, and it is through the interaction that you will experience a lasting transformation. And it is a promise of transformation, because after the end of the sharing today, I promise that big or small, everyone who participates is going to experience some positive change in your life, in whatever areas of your life that you are interested in, whatever areas of life that you are working on, whatever areas of your life that you feel like, that you want to transform or overcome. Okay. Thank you, Nadia, for joining us. If it is convenient, please turn on your cam. It is not a requirement, but it is helpful for me to see people. And then when it's convenient, you can go ahead and turn on your microphone to speak and share as well. Okay. Before I jump in, why don't we give some previous participant, maybe Jihua, since you're the only one on the camera right now, would you care to share with some of our new participant what benefit you have received from studying this philosophy? What have you gotten so far? What would you like to share with the world?
Well, thanks for calling my name Frank. Vince is also he has his camera on too. I got to know WIT, WIT, this knowledge since last summer, and then I decided to take the mentor program. And what I find is that when I'm in the program right now, I'm in Mentor 6. One thing I realize is that the reaction when something shows up or something unpleasant shows up, I pause a little bit and then I will use that some wisdom and will say, okay, this is the information present, and I pause to make myself the energy is not charged, not to go into a negative or not to be overexcited. Then with that information, I can make how do I react to this? Do I react to it as a neutral way or in a skillful way? Yes, so that's one thing I learned. And also another thing is you will be sharing about the human construct, which I like very much, because once I understand about what human, which has all the emotions, it has the true self in there, then I understand myself and others, because emotions are emotions. A lot of them are not real. So that is that, those two things. With the program I'm right now is I am able to commit to health. So I am able to, it's a habit. I'm running 2 kilometers a day. So that's something that I am looking forward to every day because it balance my emotions and also balance the energy, and it gives good energy for me to go through the day. Yeah. So
Some of
thank you for
energy.
yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
yeah. So
for
you have
calling
been,
my name, and thank you for listening.
yeah. So do you
You and
find you
Frank.
tap,
Hello,
yeah,
everyone. Yes.
yeah. You've tapped in to the energy of inner peace, and you have taken ownership of your inner being, right, including your mind, your emotion, right? And now you find that not only your mind has gotten healthier, your body is starting to follow suit. You know, you have more energy, so you can exercise and run every day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for your sharing. That is a great gift, and I'm grateful for your time as well as your presence in the Zoom today. Is Ron back, or is he out of is in the home or different room?
Thank you. I decide because I have my son is away in Vietnam right now. He's
Okay,
taking a program with WIT as well.
okay.
So I'm in his room. I'm doing my homework, and then so I decided to have the whole Zoom for myself,
Oh, okay, okay.
the whole laptop for myself. So yes, I hear him. I maybe he's
Okay.
making a smoothie. He'll come back.
So when he comes back, we'll give him a chance to share some of his experience in learning and transforming. Okay.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you, Nadia, for turning on your camera. Very grateful for your presence. Okay. I'm honored by your participation. Oh, you're on mute. So you want to say something? Go ahead, unmute.
I said, thank you for the invite.
Okay, okay. So as I said earlier, right before you join us, I've been studying this philosophy. It is a philosophy on how to live healthy and happily. Okay, I study in Vietnamese, and then I am taking upon myself to share it back in the English language because I see so much value for the people around me. Traditionally, the philosophy is taught on a 21-day sort of basis because it takes about 21 days to build new habit. But today we get a special, okay, where we are going to talk for 24 hours, okay, and you will discover the magic of the power of having inner peace. Okay, when you have an inner peace, then your mind, your body, your spirit is all connected, and you can access an almost unlimited energy. And before we begin, I invite each of you to take a pen and write down 4 or 5 areas of life that is important to you. 4 or 5 areas of life that you want to work on, that you want to transform, right, to improve upon. And to give you some idea, it could be in areas of life in your mental health, could be your physical health. How about your social relationship health? Maybe even your finance. Okay. So any areas of life, you can write down 4 or 5 of them. Okay. And then we'll get to share it because the ultimate goal is that at the end of our sharing, at least some, if not all, of those areas of life, you will experience some transformation, some benefit, and you would walk out of here, be hopefully a different person. Okay. So because for myself, I am always working on my mental health. Historically, when I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. When I was 40 years old, it got upgraded to bipolarism. I was on medication for over 20 years. At some point, I was even almost homeless. I didn't sleep on the street, but I did sleep on the floor of a rat-infested office building offered to me by a kind friend. So the journey of health is a lifelong process for me, but I attribute a major breakthrough in the past, 2 or 3 years when I have encountered a series of practices. One of them is energy meditation that Vince is familiar with. The 2 years of energy meditation got me out of 23 years of antidepressant drug. Okay. Not only that, in the last 2 years when I studied philosophy, I was able to apply it to my family relationship. I used to be easily angry. My emotion was my master. I was not in control of my emotion. I would punish my son, poor kid, but now, thanks to the philosophy, I've been able to manage and take ownership of my own emotion. My relationship with my son is much closer. He's 8 years old and he still wants to play horsey. He still want to ride on my back every night. He's getting heavier, and yeah, okay, I love to do that. My relationship with my wife has improved. Okay, both in intimate level as well as on a mental and spiritual level. My relationship with my coworker has improved. I used to see people and I find fault in people. I find fault in my coworker. I'm always right about things, and I used to criticize people. But as I studied this philosophy, as I discovered inner peace, I find people to be my teachers. I find that people are my benefactors. They are helpful to me. And I find value in just the fact that people are in my presence, just as you guys are in my presence today. So I'm very grateful for that. Not only that, my wife and I are working on moving toward financial independence. Before I gave birth to my son, I was almost homeless. I didn't have a job. Thanks to my wife, when I got married, I had a stable job working full time. And now we are learning to tap into that material rich simply because we have an inner rich. Okay, we'll discover how that link between the inner being, the inner rich, can manifest in material rich, physically in terms of health, as well as materially in terms of finance in a little bit. Okay, so this sharing has a particular methodology to it. There's a specific way to it. It is a roadmap. Okay, so you can feel free to write it down with me. This is a roadmap.
Frank, do you have
Yes.
share your
Oops. Thank you for that. Let's share my camera and then share second camera. Let me adjust it. Okay, it's a little crooked, so let's just adjust the camera that way. There you go. Okay, there you go. Okay. Thank you for that. So this 24-hour sharing that we're doing, it has a roadmap. It's a journey we're going on together. Okay, a little journey. And every journey we want to get where we want in a simple way without getting lost. It's a roadmap. Okay, so this is a roadmap. It's a special roadmap that help us raise our inner awareness. Okay. This is a roadmap to raise our inner awareness. Awareness about ourselves, awareness about our mind, about our emotion, about our spirit, our body. It is a roadmap to raise our awareness about our relationship with other people, our relationship with our health, our relationship with money. Okay, so it is a roadmap, and if we stick to the roadmap, we're going to get to our destination of health and happiness pretty simply without getting lost. Another way of looking at it, it's kind of like the onion. If we're trying to get to the core of who we are, trying to get to the core of what it means to be a healthy and happy human being, we have to peel back each layer. So every sort of drawing that I do is kind of like a layer, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go on a little journey together. It has a roadmap, a step-by-step process by which we can peel back the layers of the onion and get to know the truth of who we are so that we can achieve the kind of life that we really want, a life of health and a life of happiness. Okay. So to make this sharing, how do you say, effective? Okay, to make this sharing effective, I invite you to consider simply enjoy learning. Okay, make it fun. Just enjoy learning. Okay, I'm sharing knowledge, you're receiving knowledge. If you have a question, definitely raise your hand. By asking question, not only you get clarity, but you help other people get clarity, and vice versa. So enjoy learning, ask question. And I want to draw your attention to something called a curve of remembering. Okay, curve of remembering. So first of all, before I draw the curve of remembering, I'm going to draw the curve of learning. This is, we're going to say percent of knowledge that we learn. Okay. And these are the number of days percent that we know or learn. Okay. So it has been proven by science, psychology, that if we spend, let's say this is 1 day, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, 6 day, 7 days. If we learn something, this is 100%. Okay. This is about, let's say 50%. If we learn something, especially something new, concept that we haven't learned before, what happens is that as we go through time of learning, our knowledge increase, right? It goes up. Okay. But at some point, if we stop learning again, it would start to go down. Okay. So at our peak learning is right here. That's like 100%. But if we don't review it, what happened is that after, 1 day, we'll forget a large part of it. After 2 days, we'll forget an even larger part of it. After 3 days, an even large part of it. By the end of 7 days, we have pretty much forgotten everything. That's why when I do the sharing every week and participant come and I ask them, do you remember anything? They don't. Okay. So in order for us to retain what we learn, what we do is instead of allowing our natural forgetting, this is the purple one is a curve of forgetting. Instead of allowing our curve of forgetting, what we want to do is that we repeat what we learn. Okay. So what we're doing is we're riding this top of the wave right here. We're keeping the knowledge fresh all the time, and we don't let it go into our forgetfulness. And a way to do that is while you're in the Zoom, when you're listening, every few minutes, just review it. Just repeat what I say, even without thinking about it. Every few minutes, just kind of, if anything kind of jump out at you, just literally repeat it in your mind what I just said, including what I just said right now. Just, just kind of practice on your own. Just repeat what I just said. And if you get into the habit of just repeating what you've just learned all day long, then you're going to be riding this top of the wave, and you're going to remember a lot of things. And at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, review the day. Talk to yourself and repeat what you just learned so that tomorrow your curve will still be really high. Okay? You get the idea? Right? Any impression about that? Any question, any impression about it? Just me presenting this bit of knowledge. How do you feel about it? Does anybody want to say something? By sharing your impression of it, it will actually help you remember. How do you feel about it? Anybody want to try? No, nobody? Okay. Okay.
To
What do you think, Vincent? Vince?
yeah, I think it's a good way to
Yeah.
remember, just learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
How busy for thing in life, and we don't have time to remember. But if
Yeah.
we remember to practice what you just taught us, we
Yeah.
can remember some very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, that's the saying. If you use it or lose it. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it, right? Okay. So yeah, just go through your day. Just remember, okay? And we'll go back to this idea of learning later. That is in a way that is more transformative. Okay. Okay. So speaking of transformative, okay. So let me draw your attention to the following concept. So historically, when we go to school, what we learn, we call those information, right? When we go to school, we learn knowledge. We get knowledge, more knowledge. Two types of knowledge. One type is called informative knowledge, which is information. Right? We learn math, we learn English, we learn science, we learn how to do business. We get more information. When we want to get paid more, we go and we get a new certificate with a new degree, a new license, we get more information. Informative knowledge help us get through life, to survive, to advance, right? And we all, gain informative knowledge. However, you take a step back and you say, look, does all of that knowledge actually make me happy? Does all of the knowledge I have been accumulating since high school, since college, since the training in the professional world, do those knowledge actually make me happy? Is it really getting me where I really, really want in life? So instead of informative knowledge, we'll learn some informative knowledge today, but I want to call your attention to another type of knowledge. It is called transformative knowledge. Transformative knowledge. Okay? So what we're doing here is we're learning transformative knowledge. And that's why there is a promise that at the end of this sharing, you will walk out of here being transformed. Being transformed meaning having been changed in some way. Okay, maybe your mind has changed, maybe some thought have changed, maybe your state of emotion will have changed, and for some people, physically changed. Okay. Okay. So what we're doing here is transformative knowledge learning. Right? How do you feel just by hearing that? Who would like to say something? How do you feel when I say, oh, we're learning transformative knowledge instead of informative knowledge? Any impression? No? Okay. All right. You got that right? Okay. You guys are great student. I mentioned enjoy learning. So what you want to do is you want to, get yourself in a state of relaxation, and peace. Okay, don't try too hard. Okay. So since we're talking about transformative knowledge, let's begin with a picture. Let's make that picture. I'm gonna draw a picture of a small person. Okay. Imagine this small person is, hang on, let me see if I could use that. Yeah, okay, no problem. Let's use that one. Imagine that small person is sitting inside a cocoon or some sort of shell. And the shell can be pretty thick. Okay, lots of layers, right? A cocoon has a lot of layers. Right? Layers. So we're gonna try a bunch of colors. In fact, I'm gonna use 6 different colors representing 6 different layers. We use purple already. Let's use this blue. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Just bunch of layers. This layer is very thick. Okay, and what we're trying to do with this little journey and with a roadmap together is we are going to help this person grow up. Okay, so let's use this color. Be a bigger person. Okay, big head, big body, and big arms and legs. Okay, big eyes to see better, big nose, big mouth. Okay, hair and feather. Okay, big arms and big belly. Okay, we're gonna help this person grow up. Okay, and that is a process called transformation. Okay, transformation. Now remember the idea of the informative knowledge versus transformative knowledge. Another image that I want to call into your head is the image of a caterpillar and a little worm, a caterpillar, right? A caterpillar is a little worm. Usually they live on trees and stuff. As the caterpillar eats, what happened to the caterpillar when it eats? It just get bigger. When a caterpillar eats, it just get bigger. That's like acquiring informative knowledge. Yeah, you get bigger. You get more knowledge, just the caterpillar gets, eat to get bigger. However, at some point, that caterpillar has to stop eating the same kind of food. It has to go into a sort of a cocoon. And then through the process of breaking out of the cocoon, will the caterpillar turn into a butterfly? Did you get that? If all we do is go through life and we just acquire informative knowledge, we're just like a caterpillar, just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's fine. Most people do. We've been doing that all our lives. But if we don't stop eating the same kind of food and do something that would put us into a mode where we break out of the shell, then we will not be able to turn into a butterfly and, fly away and be free and roam the world. That is one imagery that would, I can offer. Okay. The thing is, with the caterpillar turned into a butterfly, there are some challenges because the shell, the cocoon is pretty thick. Right? The cocoon can be pretty thick. And it turns out that wise people who have compiled this knowledge have shown us that those shell around us, when it comes to human life and experience, are called self-limiting, self-awareness. Okay. Self-limiting self-awareness. In other words, they are awareness about ourselves that limit ourselves. They are awareness about ourselves that are limiting our ability to break out of the shell and grow wings and fly away and be free and be happy and healthy. Okay, and what are these self-limiting self-awareness? One of them is called self-trivialization. Okay, self-trivialization. We think of ourselves as just trivial. We think of ourselves as ordinary and normal people. And so we never have a better image of ourselves. A caterpillar who thinks of itself only as a caterpillar will never bother to try and break out of the shell and become a butterfly. Right? Self-trivialization. Is anybody here? You know, never thought of yourself as being something totally different. Okay? Self-realization is one of the self-limiting self-awareness. Some teachings of philosophy refer that as a limiting belief about yourself. Okay. Next one. Here's another shell that we need to break out of. It is fear of failure. Okay. Fear of failure. Has anybody here ever, because of the fear of failure, that we simply not try? Or maybe we tried and we failed. That's even worse. We tried and we failed and it hurts and we don't want to get hurt again. And so we stop trying. And therefore the caterpillar stays inside and never break out and become a butterfly. Or this person stays inside a shell and never really grow, never really mature. Okay. Another one is, let's do brown. Fear of criticism. Okay, fear of criticism. Has any of you ever been criticized by anybody? Has any of you tell your family member that I want to do a business? I want to start a new project. Vince, did you want to say something?
Not you know, I got a lot.
Huh?
First time that I was a friend of mine, criticism from my family.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. Were you able to overcome that?
You know, a few times. Yes.
You can, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy that you were able to. But consider so many people, because of the fear of criticism, they never try. Or maybe they did try and they get criticized and it hurts. And so they don't try anymore. And so they go back into the shell, their comfort zone, which is the limiting, it's a comfort zone, right? It's a protective shell. It's great. It's help us survive, help our ego feel safe. But as a result, we don't grow, we don't mature. Okay, fear of criticism. Another one is the lack of condition. Okay, lack of condition. I was born poor, so I have no money. Therefore, there's no need to think about investing. I don't know how to speak English, so I can't, take a job that requires English. Right? But some people were born without eyes and ears. Yet those people don't seem to let the lack of condition prevent them from doing what they want. Right? It is not the lack of condition that limits us. It is often the perception of the lack of condition that limits us. So that is another big layer of the shell that's preventing us from achieving our fullest potential. Okay, let's see the next one. Similarly, condition lack of knowledge. Okay, maybe you have a dream of visiting another country, but you don't know how to speak the language. You don't know how to do this, do that, so we never try. Maybe we have a dream of starting a new project, a new business, but we don't know how, so we don't try. And most importantly, I'm going to use this. Number 6, lack of future vision. Lack of future vision. We don't see our future being any different than it is today. And therefore we make no effort. In fact, if tomorrow looks the same as today, if next week, next month, next year look the same as it is today, then we're not going to make any effort to make any change. Right? Worse yet, if today looks the same as yesterday and the same as the last week and last month, last year, then we realize that our lives haven't really changed at all. And the only way for it to change is to have a future vision that is different and better than it is today. Right? So these are the 6 barriers or 6 self-limiting self-awareness that is preventing a human being from transforming, from becoming a more mature and bigger person. Okay? And so this knowledge sharing methodology is designed to do this. It's designed to help us break out of this shell so that we can ultimately grow and transform and become a bigger person. And that is called, let's do this color. Let's call maturity. Okay, maturity. Right? Legally speaking, every child becomes an adult at 18 years old. Right? Legally speaking, in the United States, in most part of the world, 18-year-old, you are considered an adult. But do you know that some adults are still babies? Right? You can become an adult, but you might never become a fully grown, mature person unless we break out of these comfort zone. Okay, and this limiting belief or these self-limiting self-awareness. Another imagery that I can offer you is that imagine you have a rocket ship. Okay, the rocket ship, we want to fly out into space, right? A rocket has a lot of power. Each of us has a lot of potential, a lot of power within us. And the rocket ship wants to fly out into space, go far, go wide, go fast. But the rocket ship is being held down by 6 chains. the chains of self-trivialization, the chain of fear of failure, the chain of fear of criticism, lack of condition, lack of knowledge, lack of future vision. These chains are holding down our rocket, and therefore we can't fly away. Even if you cut one or two chains, it still held us down. It is only when we are able to remove all 6 chains that the rocket ship will fly out in space, go very far, you'll go very fast. Right? So, how do you feel so far now that we have sort of teased you with those imagery? Anybody have an impression? Let's do a little bit of sharing. Anybody, especially former participant, do you have any, Ron, if you're still on the camera, would you like to share any of the barriers that you yourself have overcome or removed? Yuhan, are you there? Have you overcome any of these barriers? Do share so that a new participant can benefit from your own success.
Fear of well, all of these are becoming more neutral now. The strong one could be self-limiting, self-awareness. Yeah, lack of knowledge is that's what I'm learning right now. So all the other one.
What's the problem with Jihua? You know what her problem is? She's attained a level, but she's forgotten what it feels like to be like this.
That's the problem. It's
she has
overcome these.
When you have experienced health and peace and happiness, you've forgotten what it feels like to be sad and unhappy and sick. That's her problem.
Yes, thanks for naming it. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So
if anybody here is still suffering from self-trivialization or fear of failure, if you have any kind of limitation, go ahead and enjoy your limitation, because by the time you mature, you will have not remember what it like to feel bad. You will not have remember what it like to be trivializing yourself and not so enjoy your poor condition. By the time you become holistically wealthy and healthy, you will not remember what it's like to be spiritually
very
poor.
true. Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
Comes naturally.
Frank?
Yeah.
A question?
Yes, sir.
Can I say something now? Okay, when I was young, I'm confident, was very confident. I can try everything without, fearing or breaking. But when I get older, it limits you from taking this.
Yeah.
Something you can see like a taking this, and usually your time frame doesn't allow you to take risks like when at the young age. Do you follow?
Which of the good, yeah, that's good. So which of these 6 barriers do you think,
for example,
are now there that wasn't there before? When you were young, you didn't have it, but now what do you have? Which of these do you have?
For them, or like the number 2, fear of failure. Young, I don't. I'm okay. I can take.
You haven't failed yet, so you will have no fear of failure. As you get older, or as we get,
and then you fail.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, and it hurts.
For myself, fear of criticism. I don't fear, but I dislike. I don't want to be
sure.
And something like that, the 2 things for me. Right now, I'm at the stage of, I don't want to have any failure. Time doesn't allow me to get up and do it again like the old time. A big problem right now, I mean, in life or and up to this point of life, it's not easy for me if I fail and I don't have enough time to do it again.
Lack of condition, time. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you notice that when we were younger, let's say when we were in our 20s, life seemed to be, limitless. We had all the powers. And somehow, as we go through life, we gain experience, we experience failure, and we experience pain and suffering. And then those barriers seem to appear. They weren't there before when we were 20s, but now they're there.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, you're in this environment, and let's see if we can remove some of those barriers, because you will discover that those barriers is not real. It's all, we made it all up. Okay. And there's a way to remove that. And then, which bring us to the next one. Which bring us to the next one. So the next part is very important. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. For those of you who have the fortune of having the confidence, if you have the fortune or you're blessed enough to have the energy to have succeeded before, at least you have the positive seed of success. You have the positive seed of good health and good wealth in you. You just need to rediscover it. Okay. Okay. And so the next one is very important. And there's a reason for why we somehow created barriers for ourselves. So let me check my note real quick. So back to the enjoy learning. Let me just write another one. Okay, so when earlier and I said enjoy learning. Okay, enjoy learning. In order to enjoy learning, what you want to do is have 3 ways of being. Okay, just consider the word being. 3 ways of being. Number 1, be at peace. Okay, while learning, while studying. Number 2, be magnanimous, which means generous. Be generous, be tolerant, be accepting of yourself. We may have experienced failure in the past. We may have experienced pain and suffering in the past, but it's okay. At this moment, it's okay to be magnanimous with ourselves. And number 3, be grateful. Okay? Be grateful that we are still alive enough to feel the pain and suffering. Okay? Be grateful that we have this opportunity to sit and talk about ideas and share knowledge about health and happiness. Be grateful for our family members and whoever it is that is taking on the burden of whatever responsibility that we need to, so that we can have this time to share and learn. Okay, so be grateful. Be at peace, be magnanimous, and be grateful.
Can you tell me again about the number 2, be magnanimous?
Magnanimous means generous, being tolerant and accepting of yourself.
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah. We'll learn about those concepts in more detail later, but these have been proven to be emotional and spiritual energy that has a very high vibrational frequency that can actually help us achieve health and happiness. Okay, so you can begin with that. Okay, so So with that in mind, be at peace, be magnanimous, be grateful. We're going to draw the next one. Okay, next one. You can draw with me. Let's see. All right. We're going to draw something like that. Okay, it's going to be a boat. Okay, a Vietnamese boat. Okay, a boat. So the boat is floating on a river, of course. Okay, floating on a river. There's a current. Okay, so we label that boat. Okay. Now, this boat is on a river, and the river has a current that goes from point A to point B. Okay. Current wants to go from point A to point B. Now, did you notice that if I'm just going to write the word current. I'm going to say flow, okay? Current flow. Current wants to go from point A to point B. If the boat just floats along the current, do you think it'll be simple to go from point A to point B? Pretty simple, right? To go from point A to point B because the current floats from point A to point B. Not only that, if the boat float along from point A to point B along with the current, and you have a person on it, okay, have a person on it. Let's draw a straw hat like a Vietnamese person. And the person is rowing the boat. And if the person is rowing the boat along with the current, then can you imagine the boat will go a little faster from point A to point B? Right? And not only that, if we put a motor on, right, an engine, a motor, and the motor is pushing the boat along the river at the same direction as the flow of the current, then you can imagine that the boat is going to go from point A to point B very, very fast. Simple to understand. Now, of course, you can also imagine that if this boat want to go from point B to point A, which is against the current, if we want to go against the current and there's no person, no motor, we just kind of let the boat float and we want to go against the current, then you can imagine we're going to go backward. We're not going to get where we want if we go against the flow of the current. Of course, if there's a person on there and the person is rowing, okay, the person is rowing, making effort, then yeah, you can imagine that you can probably go against the current. You can go from B to A against the current, and we may get where we want against the current, but then we have to pay the price. Well, we can even put a motor on and go against the current, and we still get where we want. But it costs more in terms of energy and resources and effort in order to get where we want against the current. You get that? Right? So two ways to go in this boat. One way to go with the current. With flow. Okay? And then the other way is against. If we just go with the flow, very little effort is needed. We don't even have to row. We don't even have to use a motor. We will just float along the current and we will get to where we want along the flow of the current. With a little bit of effort, we go very fast. With a motor, we get really, really fast. We can go against the current as well. We can try to go against the current if we put in a lot of effort. We invest a lot of resources. But the moment that we stop investing resources, the moment that we stop putting out effort, the boat is going to go backward. You get the idea? Well, it turns out that the boat is our life. The boat is our life. And the current are let's use this one. The current are universal principle and natural laws. Okay. Universal principles and natural laws. These are the natural principles and law that governs our world. If we go along the flow of the current, if we obey universal principles and natural law, we will get to where we go very quickly with very little effort. But if we make the effort of going against universal principles and natural law, yeah, we might get to where we want, but we have to pay the price. A lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, even pain and suffering. Okay, even pain and suffering. In fact, let's go back to this picture. The process of maturity, the process of breaking out of this shell is a natural process. Okay, every caterpillar will go into cocoon, it'll turn into a butterfly. Every chicken in an egg will eventually break out of the shell and grow naturally. However, there are times when we try to go against the flow. Let me tell you a story. Okay, when we try to go against the natural flow of universal principle and natural law. Let me tell you a story. So there's this little boy. This little boy is watching a cocoon. The cocoon is there's a butterfly in there. Okay, the caterpillar turns into a cocoon. The cocoon is about to be broken. A little boy is watching the butterfly struggling to get out of the shell. He's watching and see the butterfly struggling to get out of the shell. It is a natural process. As the boy is watching the butterfly struggling to get out of the shell, his mother calls in for dinner. Okay, and pretend it's my son, Duck. Okay, my wife will call me, Duck, time to dinner. Go inside and eat dinner. And so what the boy does, he decides to take a pair of scissors, and he snipped part of the cocoon, the shell, in order to help the butterfly get out. Okay, so the boy helps the butterfly get out by cutting part of the cocoon. And so the cocoon comes out, the butterfly comes out of the shell very quickly. However, instead of having a big wing like a butterfly, this butterfly has a fat body and tiny little wings. And therefore, because it's had a fat body, tiny little wing, it can't fly away. A bird comes down and eats this half butterfly, half cocoon, half caterpillar. So that is what happened when we try to achieve some result. We go against the natural principles and universal and natural law. We can get to where we want faster, but we pay the price. Right? In the case of the boy helping the butterfly, he thinks he's doing a good a service to the butterfly by cutting the cocoon so that the butterfly can come out. But as a result, he's actually hurting the butterfly. He didn't let the natural transformation take place, and therefore the butterfly has to pay the price with pain and suffering, being eaten by a bird. It could not fly away. Another way we can look at it is consider the chicken and egg. If we were the little chicken and we struggle and break out of the shell ourselves, that is a natural process of growth and maturity. Okay? The chicken has to struggle, it has to break out of these shells. But there's another way you can break the shell of the egg. We usually do that in the morning. What do we do with the egg when we break the egg every morning? We're trying to make breakfast, right? When we break the egg from the outside in, we're trying to eat it. So it's the same for us. If we let other people, if we let society cause us to change, we essentially become food for society. Okay, but if we proactively change and grow by ourselves, then that is transformation. That is life. Okay, so that's an important point that I want to make is that if we want to grow and mature, then we need to proactively do it ourselves. In fact, can I take a look back, for those of us who have experienced life, can I take a look at different stages in our life where we had to have change, right? We grow, we mature. Do each of those time involve some kind of pain and suffering? Is it usually some kind of pain and suffering that causes to change? Right? It's called, pain and suffering forces to change. If pain and suffering didn't force us to change, then bigger pain and suffering force us to change, force us to grow. Yeah, we grow, we become a more mature person, we are a little wiser. And if big pain and suffering didn't cause and force us to change, then maybe some really great losses will force us to change. Right? Anybody here experience anything like that, where a traumatic experience or some great losses force you to become a more mature person? Maybe failure. But if you overcome failure, then you grow, but at the price of pain and suffering. And that is because we actually went against the flow of universal principles and natural law. So there's another way, there's a smarter way to grow and change. A smarter way to grow and change is to learn. Okay, to proactively learn, to expand ourselves, to break out of our comfort zone and to become a bigger and better person. It is a proactive choice. Whereas previously, we let society, we let external circumstances, we let undesirable circumstances force us to change. Why not out of love for ourselves? Why not out of love for our loved ones, our family members? And for some people, why not out of love for a greater society, initiate change from within? Right? So when you are proactive, yeah, you can change and you can go very quickly. You can change very quickly, and we minimize the pain and suffering. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable. Breaking out of breaking out of your comfort zone is not comfortable. Just like it takes some struggle for the butterfly to get out of its shell, but it is a natural sense of discomfort, which is different than the kind of pain and suffering that society imposes upon us, and we are forced to change because of society. So if we proactively do it out of love for ourselves, then we can grow and we can change, we can become a much bigger person, okay, without having to pay the price of unnecessary pain and suffering. And we do that by obeying universal principles and natural law, just like the idea of the butterfly. If we cut it short, we're going to pay a much bigger price. Okay, and we will learn why it is that today we are less healthy than before, why today we have less energy than before. It is because we have gone against the flow of universal principles and natural law. Okay. All right. Any question about that so far? Any question or impression before we move on? Okay. No, that's a big one. If you didn't have any impression, it's important to remember the curve of remembering. Okay, in order to remember it, just kind of think about it, and you're thinking about it, and that's good. What about the idea of the idea of pain and suffering? Has any of you had to pay the price of pain and suffering, and after which you had to grow because of it? Any of you? Maybe a great failure or maybe a loss of someone, no? Okay, you can think about it. Okay, so we're gonna move on. We are gonna move on we're gonna talk about natural laws, okay? We'll talk about natural laws. And in this philosophy, we aim to try to show an understanding of life from different perspectives. Okay, we're going to use some different perspective to approach the idea of what it means to be a happy and healthy human being. And when it comes to perspective, there are the worldly perspective. Okay, worldly perspective. Which is kind of thing that science will try to explain, worldly perspective. There is the cosmological perspective. Origin of the universe. Origin of the soul. Where did life come from? Where do we go? That's a cosmological perspective. Great big cosmological. Okay. Religion and spirituality, it's pretty good at explaining the cosmological perspective. Science tend to have a good explanation of the worldly stuff, right? The stuff that we learn in school, that worldly knowledge, informative knowledge, math, science, English. And those are the worldly stuff. And then when it comes to human life and experience, there is a perspective of common sense morality, which doesn't necessarily fall into scientific worldly knowledge, or doesn't fall into religious and spirituality, just common sense. So we're going to try to approach health and happiness in these three different angles. Okay. Okay, these three different angles. And so we're going to operate on a natural law. And remember, we said there is a natural law that is governing our world. Okay, that law is called causality. The law of causality. Okay, another way of saying it, cause and effect. Okay, cause and effect. The natural law of causality, or cause and effect, occurs in the worldly sense Okay, in the perspective of the physical world, for instance, the physical world is explained by science. Right? This science try to explain the causality of a physical world, right? If let's say we want to eat a mango fruit, then science will tell us you have to plant a mango seed. Somebody has to plant a mango seed. That is a physical world as explained by physical science. If we want to fly a rocket ship to the moon or to Mars, science will tell us how to use the law of cause and effect. If the effect or the final effect, meaning to land on the moon or land on Mars, then the cause will be all the technology, all the people that goes into creating a rocket ship that will land us on the moon and Mars. That is physical science, right? Simple. We operate the law of causality on a physical world, on a worldly perspective every day. When we want to make dinner, the effect is the dinner, the cause is the ingredient, right? Where we buy the where do we buy the ingredient, how much we cook it. That is a physical world perspective. Okay, and science is very good at explaining the causality of the physical world. It is also a dimension of the cosmological perspective that religion and spirituality is very good at explaining. Where does the soul come from? Where do we go when we die? Those are the kind of questions that religion of the world or spirituality will try to help us explain. Okay? And in this philosophy, we're going to use all of these angles. When it comes to religion, I have a background in Christianity. Okay, I was born and raised Catholic. I have a baptismal name of Saint Francis, and that's why my name is Frank. I also study Zen Buddhism. So as I share this material with you, I will try to combine ideas from the Bible. I will combine some ideas from Zen Buddhism as well. Okay, and interestingly enough, through my practice of meditation and research into Zen Buddhism, it had expanded and deepened my understanding of the Christian Bible. So one of the promise of this teaching is that if you're a religious person, the teaching will make you more, a better person in your religion. If you're a Christian, you're going to become a better Christian. If you're a Buddhist, you're going to become a better Buddhist. If you are a Muslim who submit to the will of God, and you understand that God operates this world on universal principles and natural law, and you obey universal principles and natural law, that's going to make you a better Muslim. Okay? So causality is an important natural law. So beside from the religious perspective, beside from the scientific perspective, there is a perspective that we simply refer to as, just common sense. And sometimes it's just morality, right? Morality sometimes will transcend religion and spirituality, or sometimes doesn't, morality exists in all religion, and it exists and defined by science as well. So we sort of group our knowledge and experience into these three areas. Okay, you will see the benefit of doing just that. So causality, cause and effect. Now, when it comes to cause and effect, the cause is like the seed. The effect or the outcome is like the fruit. If we want to eat a mango fruit, we have to plant the mango seed. But just having a seed is not enough to get the fruit. You need something in between, right? You need the soil. You need the fertilizer. You need the water. You need the sun. You need the condition. So really, causality is the law of cause and effect, or law of cause, condition, and effect. Do you guys get that so far? It's simple, okay? So simple philosophical, but we get it. In fact, let me draw from the Bible. Okay, just a literal interpretation of the teaching on the seed. Okay, it is said that if you plant a seed in, if you throw a seed into, let's say, hard rock, it won't grow. Right? And the Bible said the seed represents the word of God, which is the wisdom and the commandment of God. If you just plant the seed in hard rock, it's not going to grow. It won't bear fruit. If you throw the seed out into the street, or wisdom and words of God out into the street, the bird will come and eat it. It won't grow. If you plant the seed in shallow soil, it might grow, but tiny little plant, and that too will die. It won't bear any fruit. In order for the seed to become a fruit, it has to grow into a vibrant tree. That tree basically has to be conditioned. You have to till the soil. We have to fertilize the soil. We have to water it. We have to take care of it. We have to take care of the condition or cultivate it. And then it will grow into a tree that can bear the kind of fruit that we want. Make sense? Okay, we're going to apply that using a scientific approach. We're going to apply that using religion. We're going to apply that using the common sense morality approach. Okay, so you can kind of think about our own life today, our own life situation, okay, our own health, our own financial standing, our own relationship status. That is the effect. What we're going to do is we're going to help you plant the right kind of seed that you can eventually will grow the kind of condition that we really want in life, which is health, happiness, peace. Okay. So causality, right? So causality, when it comes science, explain the physical world. Okay, physical world. Okay, religion and spirituality explain the cosmology. Okay, and common sense oftentimes help us deal with human experience. Okay, here we're interested in human life and experience. Health, is that not a human experience? Finance, is that not a human experience? Relationship, raising a family, worker interaction, those are human life and experience. Okay, so we're going to focus a lot on human life and experience. We'll use the scientific approach, we'll use the cosmological religious approach, and we will use the common sense morality approach as well. Okay. The thing is, when it comes to physical world, we're pretty good at it. We know how to plant a mango tree to get the mango fruit. We know how to go as far as Mars. We know how to put a spaceship millions of miles away. But when it comes to human experience, we're not so good at it. We all seem to want health and happiness and peace. Yet, how many people do you look around, do you see actually are healthy? How many people do you see actually have peace? So something's going on with the realm of human experience that is sort of lacking. Right? We think we know causality, yet if the effect is health and happiness, why aren't people happy? Why is 1/4 of Americans taking antidepressant? Why is the world at stress? Why are there war in the world? Those are human experience. And if we are to have the kind of human experience that is desirable, that is beneficial to our life, then we had better understand causality. We had better understand human experience as much as we understand how to plant a mango seed and grow a mango fruit. Okay? Okay, all right. So, another way of, let me draw another triangle just to kind of illustrate the causality of human experience. Okay, so I'm going to call it causality of human experience. Experience. Okay, I'm going to draw a triangle. So we're going to use the law of causality again and again and again and again. So on this corner, it is the outcome, right? We all want some outcome. Okay. The outcome was what? Let's say good life, of health. All right. We want health. We want happiness. We want peace. That is the outcome of human experience that we want. If you didn't want health, happiness, and peace, you would not be in this Zoom. Okay. For some reason, everybody who find themselves in this Zoom
Then we
all
not be.
agree that we want something, right?
Yeah, agree.
Health, happiness, and peace. You know, for some people, you know, it's require money. Okay, money will make them healthy and happy and peace. Okay, that's fine too. The cost. Okay, so if we want the outcome, what is the cost? Okay, now we're getting a little deeper. What is the cause of health and happiness? Okay, we're going to just going to write this down. You will find out later, but we're talking about the inner awareness. Remember at the beginning, this is the roadmap to raise our awareness, our inner awareness. Okay, it is our inner awareness that is going to be the seed that will give us the kind of outcome that we want in life in terms of health and happiness. But that's not enough, because we said if we plant the seed in bad soil, it's not going to grow. Right? If we throw the seed of inner awareness, doesn't matter how good our awareness is about our life and about our world, if that inner awareness doesn't get conditioned properly, if it doesn't get cultivated properly, it's not going to manifest in the outcome of health, happiness, and peace. So what we need, so this part is the condition, the middle part is the condition. Okay. And when it comes to human experience, the condition is the affinity with other people. Okay, the word affinity means attraction. It is our attraction with other people. Okay, how likely other people are going to be attracted to us, how we respond to them, how they respond to it. It has to do with relationship. But the word attraction, affinity it's a word that is both in scientific and spiritual perspective. Okay, if two objects has an affinity, it'll attract each other. If two people has an affinity, it'll attract each other. You know, there's some people it's easy for us to work with. Right? Other people you just can't stand. So we'll discover something about our affinity with other people. It is ultimately our inner awareness that will give rise to our attraction and affinity with other people, and which will generate the outcome of the life that we want. Okay, does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Still very foundational stuff. Okay. Conceptual stuff. We haven't gone really anywhere. Okay. So this, 24-hour process is a process by which we will come to an understanding more about our inner awareness. We'll learn about how to improve our affinity with other people around us so that we can ultimately create the kind of outcome of life that we want in terms of health, happiness, and peace. Okay, so that's natural law. Okay. The other one that we want to share with you guys is called a principle. It is a principle. So here I'm going to write down the word principle. Principle of life. These are basic laws and principles. And remember, we said that if we obey this principle, we essentially obey the will of God, and we are going to get where we want very simply, very quickly, with minimal effort. If we do not obey this principle, we go against it, we can, we can still get what we want. We might get what we want, but we have to pay the price. Usually pain, suffering, effort, time, money. And the moment that we stop following, the moment that we stop the effort, we go backward. Okay, we lose what we gain. Just like the curve of memory. Okay, so if we don't activate the principle of remembering, meaning review, then it's just going to go backward. We're going to forget. Okay, so principle of light. So with the principle of light, I invite you to draw this rectangle. Okay, this rectangle represents the dark room. Okay, dark room. So let me ask. So imagine this is a dark room. What would be the simplest way to brighten up this room? What's the simplest way to brighten up this room? A 3-year-old can answer this quickly than most of us. Come on, guys. What's the simplest way to brighten this room? By the way, I'm going to turn on the chat. So if anybody, okay. Well, just a few of us, so you don't have to type it in, but you can answer it if you want. You can type it in. What's the simplest way to brighten up this room? Come on, Vince.
Just shine some light.
You shine some light. There you go. Okay.
Get a flashlight.
Get a flashlight, flip the switch, turn on the candle, open the window. It is very simple to brighten this room simply by bringing some light. Okay, my 3-year-old, by the time he can reach I have a on my hallway there is a stair with a switch at about 4 feet tall. By 3-year-old, he already reached and he already know how to turn on the light. My son's first word is "de." Instead of mama or daddy, his word is "de." Because when he was 1 or 2 years old, I was carrying him and he pointed to the light and I said "Dan." The beginning words with "Dan," and he knew how to say the word "de." And that's to him is light. Okay, it's the simplest form, the simplest way to bring light into this room is to bring in the light. Bring in light. And now, the thing about light and darkness is that it's a duality. Do you notice that wherever there is light, there's no darkness? But wherever there is a lot of darkness, not enough light. Right? It's a duality. It's just kind of go wherever. You can't split the two. The moment that the light is gone, darkness appears. And the moment you bring in the light, the moment the light is gone, the darkness appears. The moment you bring in the light, the darkness goes away. Right? So the simplest way to brighten up a room is to bring the light in. But by virtue of that duality, you can argue that if you somehow remove the darkness, this is silly to think, but if you can somehow remove the darkness, then theoretically speaking, oops, that arrow is wrong. That arrow is out. Okay, so I'm going to draw that arrow. Okay, so there. So theoretically speaking, because it's a duality, if you can somehow remove the darkness, then the room would brighten up. So can somebody tell me how to remove the darkness from the room? What do you think, Vince? Can you remove the darkness from the room?
Turn the switch off.
When the switch is off, then the darkness is in the room. How do you remove the darkness from the room? As if you remove the darkness in the room and then the light will come in. You can't. It's a trick question, right? You cannot remove the darkness from the room. You can only bring the light into the room. You can only turn on the switch. Open the window. Turn on the candle. Okay, this is an important
the
part.
window? Can we close it?
Go ahead.
Can we close the window? Turn it into darkness.
When we close the window, what we've done is we have removed the light, and so the room becomes dark. Okay, so okay, so the goal is to brighten up this room. Okay, so imagine this room is dark, and we want to brighten up the room. Okay, get it? Room is dark. We want to brighten it up. We open the window, light comes in, the room gets bright. We turn on the switch, the light comes in, the room gets bright. But the room is dark. Can we remove the darkness? No, you can't. Okay, don't think too hard about it. You cannot remove the darkness from the room. You can only bring in the light. Okay, that's the point of this little silly discussion. You can only bring in the light into the room. And that is why it is called the principle of light, is because the only way that you can brighten up the room is to bring in the light and not take the darkness out. Do you guys get that so far? Check it out. If you get, then we can move on. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so you can only bring the light into the room. Okay, so let's draw the next picture. And I will illustrate why it is important that we went through that little interaction. So you can help me draw a house about this size, not too big. Ooh, my kids are playing, they're noisy. Okay. Okay. So draw a house about that size. On the bottom, we're gonna label that our inner being. Okay. On the left side, we're gonna label it our health. On the right side, we're gonna label it long word, relationship. Okay. And on the top, we're gonna label that our finance. Okay. So this is our house. On the bottom is our inner being. On the left is our health. The right wall or pillar is our relationship. Relationship S, multiple relationship. Relationship. And on the top is our finance. These are 4 areas of life. Before I learned this knowledge, I thought of life being very complicated. So many things to deal with. Job, school, work, money, debt, bills, children, wives, parents, co-worker, so many problems, so many areas of life that have to deal with it. You go crazy. Stress. Hence stress. But with this philosophy, if you can just get this part, you will remove 99% of your stress, because there are only 4 areas of life that we need to worry about. It is our inner being, our health, our relationship, and our finance. And interestingly enough, these 4 areas of life are interrelated. Our inner being is related to our health. Our inner being is related to our relationship with people. Our inner being is related to our finance. Think about it. If our inner being, which is our inner being, is the stuff that's inside of us, right? Our emotions, our mind, our spirit. If we are poor in spirit, if we are negative in our mind, do you think that'll affect our health? Yeah, it'll affect our health. Okay. In fact, I work in cardiology department, which is heart health in the medical field. People who have depression, sooner or later will experience heart problem. People who have a lot of anxiety will experience heart problem. Okay, so our inner being, the stuff that's going on inside of us, our emotion, our mind, our spirit, that has an effect on our health. If we are, in fact, you know, on a physical level, you know, if a person who is sad for a very long time, they can actually experience heart failure. Okay, and on a positive note, if a person who is, let's say, internally very optimistic, if they are at peace, if they are magnanimous with people, if they are grateful for everything and everyone in their lives, then they can become very healthy. Therefore, our inner being directly relates to our health. What about our inner being and our relationship? A person who is pessimistic, who is critical, who is angry all the time, would other people want to be around them? Probably not, right? Nobody want to be around a person who's pessimistic. What if you have personality disorder? Okay, all of those inner stuff. If you don't appreciate people, for example, on a negative sense, it's gonna hurt your relationship with people. On the other hand, if you're the kind of person who is very magnanimous with people, you're very loving with other people, you appreciate people, you're very positive and optimistic and inspiring, then your relationship is going to be very positively affected. How about your finance? If you're, let's say, depressed, and if you have a negative conception about money, or if you think money is evil, how about that one? If your inner being is one that has to do with money is evil, then it's just going to be easy to make money? No. But a person who thinks of money as a means to help the world, for instance, they are positive about money, or they're trying to raise money for charity, then they're going to have a positive relationship with money, and therefore they can attract finance into their life. Right? Therefore, your inner being directly influence your financial life. Okay, how about your health and your relationship? A person who is depressed and hides himself in the house all day long, like I used to, I would, you know, when I was in my bouts of depression, I would disappear and nobody would know, you know, whether I was alive or not, and therefore I had no relationship. I had no friends. It is only when I become positive and I start to appreciate people and I start to interact with people that my relationship get better. Right? So your health actually relates to your relationship. If you are physically healthy, then you can invite friends to the beach, to the movies, to go eat. Your health will improve your relationship. If you're sick, do you think you can go to work, make money? No, right? Because your health is related to your finance too. When COVID happened, everybody's sick at home, nobody's making money. Everybody finance goes down. What about your relation and your finance? A person who has no friends, no social contact, will have no business opportunity. But a person who is rich in social relationship, has a lot of friends, a lot of business contact, a lot of referral, then it is simple for them to make a lot of money. And then the opposite is true. Okay, let's go to a different arrow. Your health will affect your inner being. So you're going about your life, you're fine, and suddenly COVID hits. Your physical health goes down, and before you know it, you are depressed. Your inner being is directly influenced or you know, dampened by your physical health. Even a common cold will make a person feel bad, right? And if your physical health gets prolonged, it's going to affect your mental and your spiritual health too. Before, if you're sick for a long time, you might begin to resent yourself. You may begin to resent life, and your spirit's going to go down. What about your relationship? Okay. If you're in a relationship and the relationship breaks, heartbreak, right? Well, you're not going to be happy for very long. So your relationship has just influenced your inner being. A person who's in a relationship and gets divorced, ooh, half of the fortune just disappeared. So your relationship has just been affected, your finance has just been affected by your relationship, right? Same thing with your finance and your health, okay? So if you're doing okay and then your health is fine, but suddenly you get cancer, and suddenly you have to use the money to fix your health problem, and so your money goes away. So your finance is related to your health. Right? On the other hand, if you win the lottery, you suddenly have a lot of money. Then you can afford a vacation, you can afford spa treatment. Your health can go up just because your finance go up. And what about your health and relationship? Earlier, if your relationship is good, it's going to affect your health. A person who has a lot of social relationship, a lot of chance to interact with people, a lot of positive reinforcement from people, their health tend to go up. But a person who has a broken relationship, right, they get divorced or their children leaves them, or a spouse, okay, like a couple who's been married for a very long time, when one spouse die, usually like 6 months later, the other spouse would die because they go into a broken heart, phenomenon, and they affect the health. The relationship affects the health. Okay, so from this picture, you can kind of see that life is pretty simple. It's just 4 areas that we have to worry about: our inner being, our health, our relationship, and our finance. And they are all interrelated. And so if we are to make our lives better, if we are to become more healthy and happy, we have to be mindful on going to work on all the areas. But here's the problem. We have been trying to do that, but we've been going against the flow of the river, the flow of the principle. By doing what? We've actually been trying to remove the darkness. How do we do that? We've been trying to solve the problem. We've been focusing on the problem. If we have mental health problem, we go to the doctor and we expect the doctor to fix the mental health problem, and doctor give us a pill. It may alleviate our problem for a short amount of time, but does that really get it better? No, we become dependent on the pill. I was taking antidepressant, anti-anxiety for over 23 years. It didn't fix the problem. I could not remove the darkness, even though I tried to. Okay. When a person has, some people have a problem with a relationship. They go from one marriage to another marriage to another marriage to another marriage, and they repeat the same kind of mistake over and over and over because they think that by replacing spouse, they would remove the darkness, and therefore somehow the light would come into the room. They would become happy. By changing spouse, they think they would be happy in a marriage relationship. When a person goes in debt, let's say credit card debt, they try to solve the problem of credit card debt by opening another credit card. Yeah, you can immediately solve the problem by transferring your balance over to another credit card, but you are still in debt. Or worse yet, people would work harder, get a second job. And so they trade their health for the finance. Once again, trying to remove the darkness from the room. And like the principle of the the image of the river and the boat, you can make an effort and you can sort of get where you want in a short amount of time, but you pay the price with other ways. And the moment that you stop the effort, you go back to where you were. unless you go to work on your inner being. Okay, so your finance and your inner being is related as well. Okay, right here. Like if you suddenly, go to file bankrupt or something, that's going to cause your inner being to go down as well. So the principle of light teaches us that instead of trying to remove the darkness from the room by trying to solve life's problem, what you want to do is focusing on bringing the light into the room. Okay, bringing the light into the room. And this is how we do it. Okay, this is how we do it. That is a very powerful image. I hope you guys remember that. That is a very simplistic way for us to manage our life. Instead of worrying about so many different problems, there's only 4 areas that we need to work on. Do we need a break, guys? Does anybody need a break? See, I see Vince is away from camera.
Yes,
A little bit of a
sure.
water break.
Water break.
Let's do it, 5-10 minutes or something like that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
Mhm. Okay, guys, if you're back.
Okay.
Hey, Ron.
Hello.
Let's give some people a few more minutes. Let me call Vince. Where'd he go? Ron, are you in another location or are you at home with Jihua?
What was that, Frank?
Are you at home with Hua or are you guys at,
I'm here.
oh, okay, you're just in different room?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Let's move continue. Okay. So lesson impression realization so far with respect to the principle of light and the 4 areas of life. Have you guys noticed, have you noticed how these, are intertwined in your own life? Do you have anything you want to share? Do you find this to be more relevant, in your life more than before you study the material? For example, your health, your inner being, your relationship, and your finance, do you find that to be more interrelated? Have you found yourself try to bring in more light instead of removing the darkness or anything like that? Go ahead and share some reality before and after.
I can share something.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank, for your sharing. So every time now I realize what I'm saying is so every time now what I'm saying is I'm aware that what is a positive things to say, because if we were to focus on or saying things that is negative, then it's more negative. For example, I say put sunscreen on my face, or my kids and everyone in the family put sunscreen on your face, otherwise you get burned. Instead of saying that, I say put sunscreen on your face so your skin and your face will be protected. Yeah, so that's more light than that's more positive way. So to me is that's an example. Many other things to say, because when we say it, I realize it becomes, it's almost like we own it. Yeah. So and it gets into our awareness. Then what I realize is that when we concentrate on the darkness, it's just consuming and it stays there. And when we are thinking about positive things, and when I think about positive things, I just feel more alive, more appreciate, more grateful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the gist of the principle of light. In the past, when we see ourselves, when I see our children do things that we disagree with, we focus on the darkness. We try to remove the darkness. At the pool, when I see children running in the pool, we know that to be dangerous to run around the pool. They can slip, they can hurt themselves, and we tend to say, "Don't run." Right? Don't run, but don't run is trying to remove the darkness. they might stop running for a moment, but then when you look away and they continue to run. Because the more we focus on the darkness, the more we are going to make it more real. But having learned this principle of light, we learn to speak the language of light. Instead of saying don't run, we say slow down for safety. Just like you said, instead of telling your children, you don't want to burn your skin, you say put on sunscreen so that you can protect and have beautiful skin. That is the language of light. Okay. Thank you for coming back, Vince. Did you have any impression with this discussion so far? Do you notice how simple it can be?
So
Or have you? Yeah.
I love it. It's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay. Okay. Do you see how applicable it is? Or, have you noticed how these are related? Or have you noticed more now that your inner being, your health, the relationship, and your finance are related? Would you like to say a little bit more about your own reality with respect to this particular slide?
So far, I believe you're right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Everything is each other.
Mhm.
Everything. But today you point out, you point out everything. So thank you for that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, most of this stuff we know already, but if somebody didn't point it out for us, sometimes we didn't notice. Okay, and I was speaking with Jihua about the principle of light. In the past, we tried to remove the darkness. With an example, I'm at the pool, okay, pool, and the children are playing around the pool, and then children are running around. And we as adults, we know that when the children are running around on a wet concrete pavement, they might get hurt, right? So we tell them, don't run. By telling our children not to run, what we're doing is we're trying to remove the darkness. Okay, we see the problem is running, and we try to remove the darkness by telling them, don't run. Well, what happened is that they might stop running for a moment, but when you look away, they'll go back to running. But we have learned that using the principle of light, we switch the way we say things. So instead of saying don't run, we tell them walk for safety. Okay, and so let's do an experiment right now. We can do an experiment with the principle of light and see how it really works. Okay, so for this moment, I invite you guys to try this. I want you, whatever you do, don't think of a big elephant in this room. Don't think about a big elephant. Don't think about a big elephant. Did it work? Did anybody see a big elephant in the room? Right. I told you not to think about the big elephant, which is focusing on a problem. But even though I tell you not to think about a big elephant, you think about a big elephant. That's the problem. When we focus on the darkness gets bigger. When we try to fix the problem don't actually go away. So let's try this. I want you to think about a juicy, sour, yellow lemon that melts in your mouth. Think about the juicy, sour, yellow lemon that melts in your mouth. Did anybody did you feel that, right? Some of you might even salivate. Now here's a question. While you were thinking about the big, yellow, juicy lemon, was the elephant in the room? While you were focusing on the juicy yellow lemon, you didn't bother thinking about the elephant. You see how that works? Did you get that, Vince? Okay. Okay, let me try again. Think about your favorite vacation. What's your favorite vacation?
I don't have it fun.
Okay. Do you like Hawaii? Do you like to go to Hawaii? Do you like to go hiking? Do you like to stay at a hotel room, 5 stars, with massage services, with buffet dinners? What would you go for relaxation?
but it's a peaceful place.
Okay. How about camping? Do you like to go camping? Okay. What would you define as peace?
That's a good question.
Okay, good.
I'm looking for it. That's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, for me, I like to go camping. I like to go camping in tent. I like to go whitewater rafting. Ever gone whitewater rafting? You actually row in a river. It's pretty fun. I like to go hiking and go and see in the waterfalls at Yosemite, right? Yosemite. I enjoy walking on the beach. What about you, Ron and Tihua? What are your favorite vacation?
Walk on the beach,
There
a
you go.
nice
Oh,
warm beach.
romantic. Okay. What about you, Ron? What's your favorite vacation?
Going to Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, that put a smile on Vince's face. Okay. Okay, so here's an important part. Okay, you better pay attention to this. While we were talking about our favorite vacation, did anybody think about the elephant in the room? See? While we were bringing light into the room, we talked about vacation, we talked about things that relaxes us, things that we enjoy. We didn't think about the elephant in the room. We didn't think about the darkness. That is how the principle of light works. If we focus on the darkness, if we keep on trying to remove the darkness, try to remove the elephant in the room, we can't because it is there. The more you focus on the darkness, the more you try to remove the problem in your life, the more it gets bigger. And that is like rowing against the flow of the river. We try and we try and we try and we try. We put motor in, we invest time and money and effort. We go to therapy, we take self-improvement courses in order to what? To fix our problem. I began this journey doing that. I took many different self-improvement courses with the purpose of solving my own mental health problem. It helped a little bit, but it come back because I was still trying to remove the darkness in the room. The more you focus on the darkness, the more you give energy to it and more it appears. It is only when I understood the principle of light that the only way that you can brighten up a dark room is to bring in the light. Because when there are light in the room, there is no room for darkness. When you fill your life with all the positive activity that you like, there's no time to be sad. But if you try to, try to fix the problem with work, try to fix the problem with stress, you try to fix your problem is just going to be there. That is an important distinction. If you learn anything at all you got to learn is that today. The principle of light, okay? If you fill your life with all the things that you enjoy, all the positive and healthy and happy things, then you have no time to be sad. The problem would just go away. It won't completely bring out of existence because light and darkness is a duality. The moment we stop the light, the moment we turn off the switch, the moment we close the blind, the moment we blow out the candle, guess what? Darkness comes back in. The moment we stop being positive, negativity will come back in. That's a very powerful point to make. So we have to maintain it. Okay, nothing lasts in this life, but the only way to make it last is to nurture it and maintain it. Okay, to keep the light burning, keep the candle burning in your room. Okay, keep the light on. You get that? Okay, so let's discover how we can actually do that with our light. Okay, so how are we going to bring light into this room? That is our inner being, our health, our relationship, and our finance. Okay. So we're gonna draw that house again. Let's see, hang on. Da-da-da-dum. Yeah, let's draw that house again, but this time we are going to light up the house, okay? This is my favorite part, one of my many favorite parts. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So this house, this time we're gonna draw it nice and big, okay? So see if we can almost fill up the page, okay? There you go. Let's at the bottom, let's label that again as a principle of light. Earlier, I said the statement that if you feel all the time of your life by doing the things that you enjoy, then you will have no time to, suffer, be sad. You should write that quote down. Okay. In fact, if you spend all the time of your life doing things that are positive, then you will have no time to do the negative things. So now, principle of light. Let's label that on the left side, on the bottom, still our inner being. Okay. On the left side, let's make it big. So I'm going to draw it vertically. H-E-A-L-T-H, health. On the right column, long word, so we're going to try to squeeze it in. Relationship. Multiple relationship S. On the top, our finance. Okay, still our house. It's got 4 important areas that we all want to work on. In the middle, try to draw a hexagon like this, kind of like a turtle shell. Okay, hexagon just like that. You're going to connect the corner to the side, the corner down here, corner straight up to the roof. Okay. And we're going to draw a bunch of candles. So let's draw a candle like that. 2, and a bunch of candles. And obviously, candle is going to need some flame, nice yellow flame. We're going to light up this house. Nice flame there. Okay. Make it look like flame. If we can outline it a little bit. Okay, there we go. Nice flame with maybe some radiance. Pretty candle and flame. Okay. Each of that, we're going to label it. This bottom flame, we're going to label it wisdom. Okay. The one on the left, attitude. Okay. On the right, character. Okay. On the upper left, we're going to call it physical vitality. In the past, I used the word physique, but today we're going to try the word physical vitality. On the right side, we're going to call it capability. Okay. In the middle, we're going to write integrity. And then on the top, we're just going to call it material to represent material possessions and things like that. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to light up our house beginning with the light of wisdom. We're going to light up the candle of attitude. We're going to light up the candle of our character. We're going to work on our physical vitality, our capability, our material well-being, and connect all of that using the virtue of integrity. Okay? And this house is called the house of holistic health. Or if you like, house of holistic wealth. We're going to become rich. We will enrich our wisdom, enrich our attitude, enrich our character, enrich our physical vitality, our capability. We will enrich our material well-being, and we will be a person of integrity. We will enrich our integrity. And we're going to become holistic rich. Okay, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles of holistic health, or 7 candles of holistic wealth. Kind of cool, huh? Okay. And the inner being stays at the foundation. Our health and our relationship are the pillar that hold up our house. And with that, we're going to top it up with material well-being, which is our finance. In fact, look at this. Imagine this house have these, basic structure, right? Where these represent the walls and the, okay? At the bottom, on the foundation is still our inner being, right? Our walls are our health and our relationship. The top is our finance. Have you ever met or known people, or maybe ourselves, have we ever spent a lot of time and effort building the house from the top down, like working on our finance, at the expense of our health, our relationship, and our inner being? Right? If we work and work and work and we focus on trying to work, and we'll at some point we'll make a lot of money. But if as a result of our working, we make a lot of money, but we experience physical health problem, right? Our pillar of health falls apart. Guess what? Our finance falls apart. We basically use the money that we made in order to pay for our health. Cancer, people, sell the house and, stuff like that. How about people who spend a lot of time working and working, making money, right? But they didn't pay attention to their relationship with their children, relationship with their spouse. The spouse decided to get divorced, half the fortune just disappeared. Right? Okay. Okay. How about somebody who spent a lot of time making a lot of money, okay, a lot of material possession, nice car, big house. Some people even have airplanes and helicopters and great big, material possession, but they become, let's say, arrogant. Maybe they become conceited. Maybe they start to resent people. Or maybe they experience a nervous breakdown. Their inner being gets in trouble, right? the wisdom, the attitude, the character, then when the foundation of this house is gone, everything collapses. We see it all the time. We see it all the time. Okay, so what we do, okay, so that's why we this is this is the roadmap to elevate or raise our inner awareness. Okay, we begin by building a strong foundation of inner being. Okay, when you have the wisdom, which is the foundation of your inner being, then what that gives rise to is good attitude. You will discover that a person who has wisdom will simply give rise to good attitude. Ever seen a wise person who's, bad attitude? No, when we think of a wise person, they have life experience, they have wisdom, and they just experience, the attitude of peace. They are accepting and generous with people. They are grateful, right? You have good attitude. With good attitude and good wisdom, you will start to manifest in such a way that other people will recognize you as a person of good character. Right? With wisdom and attitude, it gives rise to good character. Okay, and character here is the part of your relationship. When people see you as a good person of good character, you attract people. Your affinity with other people is positive, and we are going to have good relationship with people. Person of good character is somebody that other people want to be around. Person of success is usually a person of character. And as we build our wisdom and our attitude, well, this is, a lot of these is our mental health, good attitude related to our mental health, right? So if our mental health is strong, guess what? Our physical health will get strong. Physical vitality. So health encompasses both the physical and the mental. Physical health is the physical vitality, right? Mental health is our attitude. And I already started you off with 3 high energy of serenity, which is inner peace, energy of magnanimity, which is generosity and tolerance and acceptance, and the energy of honoring gratitude. That is the core of a person's great attitude. You don't have to worry about so many other types of emotions. Just focus on 3. Be at peace, be generous with people, be grateful. Just cycle through that all day long, and in short amount of time, you will feel really good, and your body will follow suit. That comes from wisdom. And thankfully, we have been taught by wise people who passed down to us that wisdom will give rise to good attitude and good physical vitality. Okay? And as a person with a good attitude, it's going to build our character, and we're going to improve our capability too. Capability, another word, is our ability to get things done. Our ability to influence people, for instance, okay, our power and influence. Do you notice that great people, great leaders, effective people are people who are able to get a lot more done than the common people? We all have the same amount of time in a day, 24 hours a day, yet effective people has a more capability. They can get more things done in the day than common people. There's a difference between a person who makes minimum wage per hour versus a person who makes billions or millions of dollars, per hour. It is only because they have great capability. But that capability comes from good character and integrity. Integrity, we will learn at the very, very, very end, is a state of being whole, perfect, and complete. That's what the word integrity means. To integrate is to bring things together. To integrate means a sum of all things. And a person of integrity is a person who has all of these candles nicely, brightly lit. They have wisdom, they have great attitude, they have good character, they have physical vitality, they have capability, power, and influence, and they have material well-being. In this philosophy, at least within the first 24 hours or even the 21 day that is tradition, we will not teach you how to make money. We will not teach you how to accumulate material possession. But here's the thing. If you learn to light the candle of your wisdom, your attitude, your character, your physical vitality, maintain good health. If you have capability, it could be power and influence, it could be skills, and you are a person of integrity, then it is impossible to be poor materially. Okay? It is impossible to be materially poor when you are holistic rich. If you're holistically healthy, if you are holistically rich, then material will flow into your life. And this is where it's different from the majority of the population out there. The majority of the population out there will go after the money. They will go to work, they will do business, they do whatever it takes to build the house from the roof down at the expense of health, relationship, and their inner being. And that is why it doesn't last. Okay, that is why even as a person accumulate and they come very rich, and at the end of their life, their health decline, their relationship decline, their inner being goes away, they get dementia and stuff, and they can't really enjoy any of the material possession, and oftentimes they'll even lose it. But if you begin with the foundation of wisdom, develop your character, your attitude, maintain your good physical health, improve your skills, your capability, right? Keep all of that with integrity, then you will be rich in no time. And that is how we bring in light into the room. And we're going to do that all at once. Okay, we're not just going to, you want to make sure that all the candles are lit all the time in your room. Because you can argue that if all we have is just one candle, then there's a bit of a shadow. There's still some darkness in the room if all you have is just one candle. But instead, if you have multiple candles, okay, so multiple candles, imagine these are all candle of light, and then so the light from these will, will drive away the darkness from the shadow from another candle. And so when you have your entire house full of candle, full of light, then there will be no room for darkness. Or if you speak in terms of time, if you spend all your time working on building your wisdom, your attitude, your character, your integrity, your capability, your physique, your material well-being, then you will have no time to be sick. You have no time to be sad. You will have no time to be negative. Think about that statement. So instead of spending your time on removing the darkness, right? Vince and I, we have both been studying an energy healing practice. When I first approached the energy healing practice, my mentality was to remove the darkness from the room. And whereas that helped, but as long as I was still focusing on trying to remove the darkness from the room, it was not as effective and complete as I wanted. I still get depressed from time to time. Until I was able to switch my perspective and awareness to one that focuses on the light, focus on raising my wisdom, focusing on improving my attitude, focus on my character, my integrity. And then that state of being wholeness, whole, perfect, and complete, as a person of integrity, endures. Okay, so we want things that endure, right? Or do we prefer things that permanent? Do we just want to be healthy one day and then go back to being depressed and anxious another day? We want things that last. Okay, and this is a sure way from the bottom up, from the inner being, from the foundation up. Okay. Well, how do you feel so far? Any impression?
Very good.
Question? Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Frank. Let's say we try very hard. We try right. But do you believe in fate or destiny?
Good question. That is an answer. That is a question that I will answer later when we take a different, when we start getting into the human nature. We'll definitely talk about fate and destiny. We'll definitely talk about free will. Okay, it's a wonderful question. So keep that. It's a good idea to write it down. Go ahead and write it down so that you don't forget it. But I don't want you to get stuck on that question while we are on a different topic. So can you do me a favor? Go ahead, write that question down. Okay, we'll get to it and it'll come back right away. You know when to ask, and it's possible that when we get to it, you won't need to ask anymore because I may have already answered through the presentation itself. So good question, wonderful question, and I do look forward to answering those questions. Okay, we'll talk about it. Now it's just still very fundamental, still on principles and natural laws. But the question on fate and destiny, the question on free will is definitely going to be answered. There is a promise in this teaching is that, you know, after we learn this, we are going to have a full, complete grasp of human life and experience. That is a bold statement that anybody who learned this philosophy is going to have a full and complete mastery, a full and complete grasp about our own life and experience. Okay, pretty bold statement, but it's possible. It's very simple. Okay, it's a step-by-step process. Okay, but we need to expand our awareness. We need to raise our wisdom in order to understand have a good answer to those questions that you've asked. Thank you for asking. Okay, good energy, good student. I like that. Okay, let's see. So how do we keep the light on? Okay, how do we keep the light on and prevent, you know, wisdom from going away? How to prevent attitude from disappearing and character and integrity to turn off? Okay, let's see. Just a little bit of reality. Okay, back when I was still really sick. Okay, an example of me trying to solve the problem, my illness, is taking medication. Back when I was still really sick, I would be, you know, come down with a cold or a flu whenever the season change, right? We tend to catch a cold when the season change. It's called a seasonal cold. And I have allergies, so whenever I get a cold or a flu, I would cough. I would cough for a very long time. Back when I was really, you know, sick, I could cough for like 3 months. I would go through refills and refills of cough medication, sometimes even refills of antibiotic. And then there were years where I would be sick 2 or 3 times. So if you imagine being sick 2 or 3 times, each time 2 or 3 months, that's like, you know, 9 months out of my entire life is being sick. And all I knew how to do was to take medication, go to the doctor. That is removing the darkness. But the darkness came back. Right? I got sick again until I understood the meaning of the principle of light. When it comes to physical health, I just throw it out there. Okay, we'll just throw it out there. We haven't sort of gotten to it, but doesn't since I'm sharing. When it comes to physical health, and you know mental health, there's a World Health Organization, WHO, World Health Organization. It is an international body, part of the United Nations, that defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Okay, so health is a complete, is a state of being, it is state of complete physical, okay, mental, and social well-being. When I was having a cold, all I understood was physical. I just took medication and yeah, that alleviated my physical ailment. But as long as my mental health state was depressed, as long as I was still anxious and stressed, that mental state decreased my immune system. So I kept getting sick. My social relationship was negative with most of the people. I was isolated. I didn't have positive social relationship. That lack of social support also affected my physical and mental health. Mental, not mental. Okay. Mental. So health is a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely, there's another part, not merely the absence of disease, or infirmity. Okay. So I just write the definition, okay. WHO, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Okay, well-being. And not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Okay. The World Health Organization is not a religious organization, but when I have quoted the World Health Organization's definition on health, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being to people like my patient at work. They would actually tell me, Frank, you should include the word spirituality in it. Oh, so there are people who recognize that health is not only physical, mental, and social, but there is a dimension of spiritual in it as well. Okay, so I'll just keep the definition of the World Health Organization, but understand that there's a physical, there's a mental, there's a social dimension, but there is also the spiritual dimension. Fortunately, in this sharing, we will talk about that. Okay, we will cover the physical health, which is obvious, of body. Okay, there's a mental health, there's a social relationship inside our, our house of holistic health here, relationship. But there's a dimension of spirituality. The dimension of spirituality lies within our inner being. It is explained by religious and spirituality, religions of the world. Questions like fate, destiny, free will. Yeah, those questions will be answered using the religious perspective that we are going to encounter later on. Okay. Okay, so that's just a little sidetrack with my own sharing of my own reality. Once I understood the need for physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, I went to work on lighting up all of these candles, and not so much on focusing on trying to fix the problem, fix my health problem. Okay. If 100% of your time is focused on lighting the candle of wisdom, attitude, character, integrity, capability, physical vitality, and material well-being, then you have no time to be sick or be sad. Okay. Okay, so how do you keep that light on? Okay, so now that we, part of this sharing is going to help you light those candles, but how do you keep it on? And the way to do that is, let's see. Let's see. Okay. So if we look at we write those words again. Okay, these words. I'm gonna write it again. But this time we're gonna write it. Let's do it this way. Okay, so first I'm just gonna write the word 7. Holistic wealth. Now, previously, when people think of somebody who is wealthy or rich, do they not think of the material dimension? Right, previously. In fact, when I say somebody's rich, we immediately think about the material possession, right? That's what society does. That's how we have been brought up in thinking. We think that person has a nice car, big house, big investment account. We think of the material possession. However, as society evolves and we look at people who are rich materially, they may be rich materially, but at some point, let's say they get sick, right? At some point they get sick and they can no longer enjoy their wealth, the material possession that they have. Then we wonder, oh, is it really worth being rich and sick? And so we understand, but then suddenly, you know, society comes to understanding that, oh, there is something more valuable than just material possession. And so we start to value vitality, physical vitality, right? You could have a big car, a nice house, a big bank account, but if you have no vitality to use it, then you are actually not rich. You are just as poor as a person who has nothing. So our health, basically our vitality, is, you know, society begin to take that into consideration, our physical health, as something of value. Okay, and let's say a person who has a lot of material possession and who has a lot of vitality, let's say the sports fan, the sports athlete, celebrity, right? Soccer player, football player, basketball stars. They have a lot of vitality. They also make a lot of money, right? Okay, those guys are definitely rich. But you'd also notice that sometimes those sports celebrities also lose the vitality and lose the material possession very quickly, especially if they don't have certain capability relating to the finance. Right? Some of them may have grown up from a disadvantaged background and they somehow was fortunate enough to be drafted into the football league, basketball league, and they had a physical vitality, and so they were able to rise through the rank of the sports world, and they became very rich. But they never possessed the capability of saving money or investing money. So they may make millions and millions of dollars, but the moment that they no longer have the vitality to continue playing the sport, they no longer make the money from the sport, they would squander the money. Oftentimes they would squander it even while they were still famous, right? They have a lot of money and they suddenly go out and buy big houses and big boats and airplanes. And so before they know it, they are already in debt. And so society begin to think, oh yeah, okay, so just because you have the physical health, just because you have the material possession, but if you don't have the capability of maintaining your health and your material possession, then you're going to need something else that is more valuable than just money and vitality. You can need the capability. Okay, you need the know-how, you need the skills. Okay, and then let's suppose let's have somebody who has the ability to keep money. They have somebody who has the capability to reinvest whatever money they make from sports or from their sponsorship, and they still maintain their health. They still maintain the material possession, and they have that skill. But if somehow they have a problem with their integrity, okay, if their life is somehow unbalanced, maybe they have a broken relationship. Do you see that all the time, right? You see celebrity gain and acquire relationship. A lot of people love them. They get married, but it's suddenly part of their, you know, their marriage break up, and then immediately they lose half the fortune. Or if a celebrity goes out there and says something that offends society, right? And society calls into question their integrity. They lose the sponsorship. They lose the advertising. They lose the position in the National League of Football or Baseball. So people begin to look, oh, It's not enough to have material, vitality, capability of making money, but you need something else called integrity in order to maintain your possession of wealth. Right? So integrity becomes the glue that maintain the other aspect. Okay? And if a person who maintain their integrity would maintain their possession with integrity, but if they start to have some kind of character flaw, okay, then that can start to threaten their physical well-being as well as the material well-being. And if that person has a bad attitude, then people would not want to work with them, would not want to support them, they would lose everything as well. And finally, if a person has no wisdom, they will simply lose everything as well. So let me tell you a story in a reverse order. In the Bible, there is one man that is very loved by God. Okay, his name is Solomon. He became a king. One day God asked Solomon, Solomon, you are a good man because you are good to God. You could have anything that you want. What would you like? Solomon could have anything he want. He could have all the material. He could have all the health and riches that he want. But instead he asked, I only want wisdom. And so King Solomon asked God for only one thing, and that is wisdom. And so God said, okay, you get to have wisdom. And from wisdom, King Solomon was able to grow everything else. And it is known that King Solomon was the richest man in the world of his time, if not still the richest man in all of history. In the Jewish tradition, they prize having a lot of wives. For instance, it is known that King Solomon had like 7,000 wives and 7,000 concubines and 300 wives or something like that. Each of them are political marriage, so every wife is equivalent to owning a country, a small country. So King Solomon owned 7,000 countries. He has all the riches in the world because all he wanted was wisdom. And so when we take a look at this, we notice that these three aspects of our being are the sort of material, right? Our actual material possession, our physical body, vitality, that's still material. Our capability, which is the skill that we use to acquire money and influence, and those are kind of material stuff. People can sense it. We can see it. And these top four here are a little bit harder to see because they are by nature non-material. It is sort of the invisible stuff, but these invisible stuff, these foundational stuff that give rise to the visible stuff. And so it's kind of, right? The stuff that is on the surface, our physical vitality, people can see that. Our material possession, people can see that. Our ability, our capability, people can see that. Those are on the surface. Those are the material aspect of our being as a human. The stuff that is more underneath is our attitude, our integrity, our character, and our wisdom. They are considered the non-material aspect of our lives, of our being. You kind of see that? So you kind of reverse the order, okay? Reverse the order. It is the wisdom, which is the foundation, that give rise to attitude, character, and integrity. These are the non-material aspect of our being. The physical vitality, the material, the capability are the stuff that other people can see, right? These are the material. But the material stuff it's easier to lose. They're not very permanent. They are not enduring if you don't have the strength in the non-material aspect of your life. If you have no wisdom, it is difficult to have anything, or at least they won't last. You just come to it by chance or by luck. We'll learn about why some people are luckier than other people as well. Okay, once we master this philosophy, we will be able to explain why somebody come to better fortune than other people. So now that we can kind of see the distinction between the material and the non-material aspect of our being as a human being, how do we go about maintaining that light, okay, that light that is in our house so that they don't burn out? Even our material possession, how do we maintain the material possession, and how do we maintain our light of wisdom? There's a way to do that. So let's draw this one. Okay. So on top, remember we have the non-material aspect of our being, non-material. And at the bottom, we have the material aspect of our being. Okay. How do we make sure that the candle of light stays on in our life in our house all the time? We need to set it in motion by doing this. They cannot be static. If they are static, they will eventually burn out. And I want you to add the word IZE. IZE. Basically, we want to go to work on materializing the non-material aspect of our being. And at the same time, we go and we non-materialize the material aspect of our being. Okay? It sounds a little weird if you're not familiar with that, but the idea is to turn the non-material stuff. Non-material is the stuff you cannot see or touch or feel, right? Non-material. You want to materialize. You materialize the stuff, like materialize the wisdom. Ooh, how do you feel, touch, wisdom? How do you materialize attitude? How do you materialize character and integrity in such a way that other people can feel, touch, taste, and measure it? And then at the same time, the material stuff, right? The stuff that people can already feel, touch, and taste. How do you non-materialize it? Ooh, interesting, huh? How do you make it disappear and not lose it? That's the idea of materializing the non-material and non-materializing the material. The word IZE meaning to turn it into something. Okay, like systemize, right? You turn something into a system. Okay, pretty interesting, huh? Okay. Okay, it turns out that the physical world, the worldly view, they're actually very good at non-materializing the material stuff already. We may not have noticed it, but the business world, especially the marketing world, is very good at non-materializing the material. And how do they do that? Take, for example, we go to the store and we look at we want to buy a watch. Okay, a watch. A watch could cost an X amount of dollars. If you count the material cost, if you count the labor cost of putting the assembly cost, if you count the design, the production, the sales and transportation of the watch, it costs a certain amount of dollars. That is the value of the watch. However, the marketing world is very, very smart. Instead of just selling the watch as is based on its actual production cost, they will have a celebrity wear the watch. A really famous celebrity, a football star, a basketball star, a movie star, even a president. They will have those super famous people wear that watch, and thereby elevating the value of that product. A same amount of the same watch that costs X amount of dollar could now cost 10, 50 times, simply because they have just non-materialized the value of the watch. They have infused non-material value. It still costs X amount of dollar to produce it, but now because it is associated with a celebrity, somebody of high value, then the watch had become high value. Right? Another way they do that is to limit the edition. If the lady want to buy a purse has a material cost. Maybe the purse is made of some kind of animal skin. It costs, there's a assembly cost, there's a production cost, there's a transportation and sales cost. And they could make a million purse because whatever material, it's simple to make. But instead of making a million purses, the marketing will limit it to only, let's say, 500. Ooh. And so immediately the purse become a rare item. And because it is a rare item, the value goes up. This is how the gold industry control the price of gold. This is how the diamond industry control the price of diamond. The industry that mine diamond, they have tons and tons and tons of diamond, but they don't release them all. They release only a tiny amount, and thereby raising the value of the item. So one way that they non-materialize their product is to make it rare. The other way is to associate it with a person of high value. The other way is to make it rare. Because anything that's rare is just going to go up because people's desire and imagination, it is demand and supply, right? Supply and demand. They control the supply and thereby raising the demand. Okay? So how can we non-materialize ourselves? How can we non-materialize ourselves? Well, let's consider we make dinner. Okay, some of us here like to make dinner for our family. If we just consider the value, the physical value of the dinner is just how much the food costs, the amount of time you put into it, the ingredients, that's about it. And so the value of dinner is just that's it. But if we make the dinner with the energy of gratitude, if we take a little bit of time and research the origins of the ingredients, if we pick organic instead of processed, if we learn the history of the dish that came from the culture, that came from the people, and when we serve the dinner, we educate our family member, then that dinner has just taken on a dimension that is higher value than just the physical stuff. It's got historical value. It's got cultural value. And you turn dinner into family time, into sharing time, into relationship building time. Then food is no longer just food. Food becomes health. Food becomes relationship health. That is one way we can non-materialize our own being. All right. When we perform a task at work, if all we think about is just the task, then that's just a task. It has a certain cost to it. Our job will pay us X amount of dollars per hours to perform a certain job. But if we perform that job, the performance of that job, that's a physical, right? That's part of the capability part of this is all material. But if we perform that job with the attitude of serenity, joy, peace, if we perform that job as if you love that job, the task is we love it, we infuse positive attitude to it, we infuse good character and integrity in a common job, then that task that you've done has just taken on a non-material dimension. At my work, I volunteer to clean the coffee pot and fill and prepare the coffee for the next morning. Anybody could do that. But when most people do it, they just do the coffee. But when I do it, I turn it into a meditative practice. Most people just pour the tap water into the coffee pot. I take the trouble of taking the whole coffee pot and I stand next to the water filter and I press the water filter button. It takes longer for the water filter to fill the pot than to use tap water. Tap water just pours really fast. So I just kind of stand there and I meditate. I just focus on the flow of the water in the pot. And as people walk by, they notice every day, Frank is just standing there with a sort of serene smile on his face, filling the empty pot. I have just infused non-material quality into the simple act of making coffee for the morning and cleaning the coffee pot. At that moment, I get an opportunity to educate other people on the value of being mindful, for instance. It is a meditative practice for me. It's not just cleaning the coffee pot. And that is one way that I can non-materialize the material aspect of making coffee. You gotta get that. All right. And when you do that, then other people look like, oh, okay, that's nice. This is a person of unique character. Nobody bother to clean the coffee pot the way you do it. Nobody bothers to use the filter water instead of tap water. Nobody turn the act of making coffee into a meditative mindfulness practice. And so when it's time to do performance review, beside from my common daily task that I have to do at work, do you think that people are going to notice that, oh, Frank has a little bit more than, somebody else? Or he's got this special thing, the way he makes coffee. And that is one way that we can elevate the value of ourselves as a person. That is how we can light up the candle of our wisdom, our character, our attitude, our character. And when I said that when we are holistically wealthy, when you have the kind of character that stands out as a person of value, non-materialistically, non-material value, because the job, anybody could do the job that is in the job description. But if you have something else that is non-material, then when it comes to performance review, you will stand out. It's the same thing when you go and interview for a job, right? If you're a graduate of a certain program and you have a certain set of skill, you have a diploma, you have a certification, and you apply for the job, know that 10,000 other applicants also apply for that same position with that same, requirement and skill, because 10,000 other graduates of the same program have graduated with you and they're going to be applying for that job. But how are you going to demonstrate that you have something that is more desirable to your employer than the other 10,000 applicants? The only way to do that is to non-materialize yourself, to show your employer that you have better attitude, that you have greater character, that you are a person of integrity. Do you guys get that so far? Yeah, that is one way that we can maintain the light of our house of holistic health. Okay. So that kind of call into sort of this concept. When we go to work, what we do is we're working. People notice our work. Those are our capability. Those are the physical manifestation. Okay, those are material aspect of who we are. But there's something else. There is a way of being. So working versus being. So one way that you can non-materialize the aspect of your being is to consider the being, not just the working. Why? Because we are human beings. We are created human beings. We are not created human working. Okay, so consider that. Your being is your attitude. Your being is your wisdom. Your being is your character, your integrity. So if we're at work and we're stressing, we're still doing the same amount of work, but our being is going against the flow of natural law and universal principle. We are not at peace. We are not generous with ourselves. We are not grateful for being where we are. Okay, so human being, we're human beings, we're not human working. If all we do is focus on the work, we're gonna get stressed. Okay, right? And these are the words that we associate with work, right? Stress. Okay. With being, I invite you to be. These are the words: serenity. I invite you to be magnanimous with yourself and other people, magnanimous and honoring gratitude. Be grateful for the opportunity to work. Okay. Work is just tasks, just doing. And if you work, we're gonna get tired. That's work. We can get tired. But if we just be, then we can work and not get tired. If our attitude is positive, then we can work and not get tired. We can work and not get stressed. We can talk for 24 hours. Okay. Let's see. And yeah, so your job is to non-materialize yourself. Okay, your job is to non-materialize yourself. In this 24-hour sharing, your job is to non-materialize yourself. Right? Consider your elevating your wisdom, your attitude, your character. Okay. My job is to materialize the non-material aspect. My job is to turn wisdom, attitude, character, and integrity into something tangible that you could take home with you. And that's what we're doing. Okay, we are packaging this knowledge, this philosophy into a packageable and transferable reality that we can share with you. And if you speak up and you ask questions, and if you speak up and you share your own experience, your own transformative experience, then that is one way that you will also be materializing the non-material aspect of yourself. Because when you are sharing your own experience and your own success, you're essentially packaging that which is non-material, your wisdom, your attitude, your character, and you're handing it, giving it to other people. And they will benefit from what you share. Okay, that is why I am very grateful for those of you who are taking the time to be in this Zoom. Okay, your presence is a gift for other people. It is a physical, material thing. And when you are present with your camera on and you have great attitude and you are giving other people your positivity, okay, you are giving the gift of your positivity. You are essentially materializing the non-material aspect of your being. Okay. Happiness, right? Is happiness a non-material thing? Is inner peace a non-material thing? Yeah, they're non-material. Is love a non-material thing? They start out as non-material, but they only have meaning in this world when we can materialize it. Who cares if you have inner peace? But if you have inner peace and you can cause other people to experience peace, then that is materialization of the non-material. Okay? Who cares if you're happy? But if you're happy and other people sense you're happy and they become happy, then that is a materialization of happiness. You can tell people that you love them. You can tell your wife and your children that you love them. But if they don't sense your love in a material way, if they don't feel your love, then that is not real. So you have to learn to materialize things like love. And we're gonna do that in this this sharing, okay? Let's see. Okay. So in order to do all of that, all you have to do is initiate a desire, okay? Initiate a desire to become a person of healthy and happiness. Initiate desire to elevate your wisdom, expand your awareness, okay? Initiate the desire to not solve your problem with stress or health, but to bring light into your house of holistic health. Initiate the desire to become healthy, to become happy. Okay, different than the desire to fix the problem. So if any of you come in here with the desire to fix your problem, here is a chance to let that go. Just simply shift your focus. Okay, I'm going to work on becoming healthy. I'm going to focus on elevating my wisdom, improving my attitude, improving my character and integrity so that I can be healthy and happy. Never mind the problem. The problem will go away when there are enough light in your house of holistic health and wealth. Okay. Initiate the desire to possess this knowledge. Okay, you're already here, so you have the desire to possess this knowledge. Okay. If you desire to possess health and happiness in a material, real way, then study. Okay, then study and practice the following principle. Remember earlier we said that if we understand universal principles and natural law, then I invite you to practice the following principle. It's called the principle of mental activation. I briefly mentioned it earlier when we talked about the curve of remembering. Okay, the principle of mental activation works as follows. There is when the lesson okay, there is the impression and then there is the realization. Okay. Lessons are anything that is new to you. Okay, anything you've learned that you didn't see before. Lessons are anything that new. Impression are anything that you find that you're deeply impressed with, but you can apply it. Applicable. Applicable. And realization are the answer to long sought inquiries. Okay, if you have been wondering about something and you don't have an answer for it, And through this interaction, you discover an answer for it. You get a light bulb. Ooh, my mind is just open. I got the answer. Please share it. Because the answer to your long sought inquiry is really the juice, the treasure. It is the transformation. Because at the moment of realization, your mind is no longer the same. You no longer think the same. You no longer see the world the same way. Your perspective changed, your awareness has changed, your paradigm has shifted. And from a new paradigm will come new ways of thinking, new ways of behaving, and new ways of acting that will lead to new reality outcome. Okay, it is part of the natural law of causality, cause and effect. The Buddha had a long sought inquiry. Why does human beings suffer? Why does human beings suffer? Why do we die? Why do we experience pain? Why do we grow old? And it takes him a long time, and he keep on asking and asking, and then he sat down and meditate, and one day he came to realization. He came to the ultimate realization of why human beings suffer, why we grow old, why we die, and all that stuff. And that changed his life. And he took the time, 49 years or so, to teach people the truth about life, okay, and how to escape suffering. What he discovered the answer to why people suffer, and he discovered the method to escape suffering. Okay, let's see. So we were talking about realization. So so far, so with this methodology in mind, okay, so far we spent a couple of hours, 2.5 hours, with a little bit of break in between. Would somebody like to apply this methodology, this principle of mental activation, and share with us what some new thing that you learned? Of those new things, which do you find most impressive? Meaning you can definitely use that from now on. And if after long inquiry, did you experience any realization, a light bulb moment? Let's draw a light bulb. Let's see, let me draw a light bulb. Oop, oop. Light bulb moment. Okay. Realization. Answer to long sought inquiries. Who wants to try? Earlier, I said that in order to maintain, the curve of remembering, you just repeat what you hear. Okay, that's fine. That's one way to do it. But this is another way that we can go deeper, because this one leads to a realization, where just repeating what you say just help your memory. Okay, that's just the lesson part. But if you can think about what we've talked about so far, you can look at your note. Okay, look at your note, and let me know what are some new things, what are some things that you find applicable, and what are some new realizations. You want to start, Vince?
You
Just
know,
pick something.
I'm not ready about that. I think one thing, before the phone call to you this morning, I thought that my life was stuck and I have no way out. But after the phone call, after talking to you this morning, I hope that I can get something better for myself. And at this moment, I believe it's possible. Yeah, that's all I can tell you for now.
Okay. I'm grateful for your presence. Okay. I'm honored by your participation and especially your feedback. Okay.
I'm grateful.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
teaching today. I'm really grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Already I see a little bit light inside your house. Right. In fact, and when the first thing you did when you called me, you the first thing you asked was a problem, right? Do you ever experience depression? But in this sharing just now, you didn't even mention any of your problem. You only you activated the energy of honoring gratitude. Already there is a transformation. You may not have realized that, but you have already experienced a transformation. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. Okay.
I said that how you say you draw on your health,
Mhm.
relationship, and planning.
Yeah.
I got four broken.
No. The lesson that you want to get, yeah, is that they are interrelated. Okay. You don't want to focus on the problem. You just notice that they're interrelated. And then we're going to go to work on improving all areas of life. And then any one area of life that we improve, that will pull the other one up. Yeah. You already look more relaxed. You look more relaxed now. Let's have Ron or Jihua share a little bit about what you've learned so far. Okay, this is your way of helping me know if I'm actually getting the material across. Because if it's just a one way, then I have no idea. I might as well just play back a recording. This is my way of knowing if I'm actually sharing the material effectively, if it makes any difference for you.
Well, for me, what I've learned is like being in the dark. Even today, I was a little bit in the dark. I was stuck in a room where I didn't really want to share anything.
Mm,
So now I'm starting to wake up a little bit and not really wake up, but I'm seeing the light again a bit.
okay.
And I just still got to working on pulling myself out of the darkness.
Okay. Okay. Well, consider what you say. Okay. Pay attention to what you say.
Yep.
If you're working on pulling yourself out of the darkness, isn't that equivalent to removing the darkness out of the room?
Yes.
So don't try to work. Don't try to pull yourself out of the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, okay, don't try to remove yourself out of the darkness. Instead, just be at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Be magnanimous with yourself. Honoring yourself for having the energy, the time to even be here in the first place.
Yes, I'm not doing this for anybody else. I'm doing it for myself.
That's fine. But when you do that, when you honor yourself, when you are magnanimous with yourself, you don't need to blame yourself, okay? Being in the darkness, just be at peace. Then essentially what you're doing is you bring in the light.
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
Yeah.
So forget pulling yourself out of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
That's just gonna make the darkness harder, bigger. Just be at peace, be magnanimous, and honor yourself and be grateful. Get it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Jihua, do you want to say anything before we continue? I'm thinking we should, take a dinner break, maybe 6:30. What do you guys think? We're around the Or do you need a break now? You need a dinner break now. Dinner break will be about half an hour. I think I will give ourselves about half an hour to do a real dinner. But the question is, do you want to move on before we take a dinner break, or do you guys want to do a dinner break now? Question for all of you.
Maybe go for a dinner break now.
You want to go dinner break now? Okay.
And
Yeah.
start fresh on new things.
There you go. Okay, let's bring in some light into our room. Okay, let's bring in some light into our stomach. Okay. So it is now 5:40. So let's see if we can come back at 6:10. Okay. 6:10.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Frank.
You're very welcome. See you in a little bit.
Thank you, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get home, you know.
Are you still at work? Okay. You want to go and grab some food?
Yeah, I will get some food and then yeah. So
Okay.
start from 6:30 to what time?
6:10. 6:10. Yeah, it's a short break. It's okay to you take your time if you know it's okay to be a little late. Can you make it by home by 6:10? Maybe grab some quick food.
I can grab some food right now and I can come.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Be back.
10 from 6:10 to what time?
Until however long. This is a 24-hour sharing. We will stop at midnight. Stop at midnight. That is our official sleep break. Okay.
Midnight.
It's okay. Don't pressure yourself. Okay. We do what we can. You go if you need to rest, you can go to sleep and wake up anytime to resume anytime. Okay. Yeah, don't pressure yourself. I'm just saying that we're gonna take a half an hour break now. Okay. Do what you need to do. If you can't be on the Zoom completely, you can, be on the phone while you're eating or something. That's okay too. Okay. If you can't be on the computer, you can be on the phone. Just enjoy learning. Okay. Just make it enjoy learning.
I do enjoy it.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Let's be back. Break. Okay. Let's say 6:15. Okay. Until 6:15 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See you in a bit.